Thank you for listening to Chart Your Fi. I'm your host, Christopher Elder. And on Chart Your Fi, we talk about financial independence and how it is a means to an end to achieving your goals and finding your purpose in life. Stand by for the sounds of freedom. Hey, everybody, welcome back from the holidays. Hope you had a happy New Year's and I hope you had a great time with your family. I know I did, and my batteries are now fully charged, and I'm ready for all the blessings that are going to come in this new year, 2023. I just can't wait. This episode that I recorded with Drew Ferris was done before the New Year's, so he is a real estate agent who's also a professional long snapper. He has worked out with the Seahawks and also Buccaneers. He has a real passion for helping people find homes and also helping those in football. So I hope you really enjoy this episode. This is a really bright guy. Sit back and enjoy the show. Hey Drew, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have uh, fellow real real estate and enthusiasts on the podcast. Not only that, for everybody that's doesn't know, Drew is a Seahawks football player. Yeah, he moved
Was.
on. He moved on to a different team later on, but
Yeah, I had a
Seahawks
cup of
player.
coffee with Seattle for you Hawk fans out there, U12s. I maybe if you remember 2016, I was there for like 4 months. Never played in any preseason games or anything, or actually, but I practiced with the team for 4 months. So OTAs off season, I did a week of training camp. So I loved it up in Seattle, dude. The weather was killer. The fans were absolutely amazing. I don't honestly. I played college at University of Florida. I've been signed to two NFL teams, one AAF team, and it doesn't really matter. But the fan base, I've never experienced a fan base at any level of football that's quite like the 12s. I mean, how embracing they are. I have Seahawk fans that still comment and follow me on Facebook when I post about my life. Like, I mean, this was 6 or 7, this was about 7 years ago that almost 7 years ago, I was in Seattle, and I have Seahawk fans that are still following me and like encouraging me. It's like I've never you know what I mean? I don't think there's a fan base on the planet that would do that. So shout out to all you 12s out there. But yeah, man, let's kick it off.
Yeah, man. Drew, like, tell me how did you come about? Like, what got you involved in football?
Great question. I was big football fan since I was 8 years old. I just loved the game. I tried playing soccer. I was pushing kids down. I was getting yellow cards, red cards. I don't know when I was like 5. And I was like, I think my parents were like, yeah, I think he's more geared to football. So I was always obsessed with football since like a really young age. I long story short, I got into long snapping because no one else wanted to do it. So I volunteered to do it in high school. I found out you could do camps and get recruited and get a scholarship in college. And so that's kind of where I was aiming for by the time I was in high school. And then by the time I got out of college, I was like, you know what? I've always been a fan of the NFL. I've always wanted to be in the NFL. I'm going to give the NFL a shot. So I gave it a good run. I, tried out for multiple teams. I'd workouts with like 8 or 9 teams. I was signed to a couple teams. I played preseason for one team. So, and I played in the AAF. If for all you football fans that remember what the AAF was, so my career wasn't exactly what I wanted, to be completely honest and blunt, but I cannot complain about my experiences I had, because I had experiences that most people, 99% of people, would not have. So that's in a nutshell, like my football background and how I kind of got to where I am, and the experiences that I've had. But yeah, I've been a football guy my whole life.
I just want to kind of reemphasize some of the things I gleaned from what you just said there. Um, Drew, you did the jobs that nobody else wants to do. You just said snapper,
Yeah,
like
I did a
snappers
job that,
that,
yeah,
yeah, snappers that job that everybody doesn't know who the hell they are. Oh,
until
let's
you
say
screw up.
screw up a snap,
You're right. And
and
yeah, yep, 100%. It's a job that no one wanted because they didn't want that, hey, if I screw up, it's on me. You know what I mean? The thing about long snapping and kicking and punting as well, it's an individualized, not sport, it's an individualized skill in a team sport, trapped in a team sport, right? If you're a golfer and when you're a golfer, or a boxer or a tennis player, it's there's no one to point to and say, oh, it's your fault why we lost, right? You're the sole responsible person for winning or losing, good or bad, right? Kicking, punting, snapping, at least snapping, I'll stick to snapping because kicking, punting is a little different, but with the hiking of the ball. But snapping, the ball comes out of my hands. I can't point to someone else and be like, oh, well, I snapped a bad ball because this guy, you know what I mean? So, or I didn't block my guy because of this, it's like, no, it's all on me. Like if and if I do my job, if I do well, I don't get celebrated. And I never really looked for that. I didn't really care. I never needed that. I really enjoyed long snapping. I liked doing it. I never thought of like the praise or, oh, well, people only notice me when I screw up. I never cared about that. A lot of people talked about it and joked about it with me. I snapped because I loved to snap, and I snapped because I could get, full scholarship, University of Florida. I was on scholarship for 3+ years, and I had experience of a lifetime. That's and I paid, so that's why I did it. I did it to try to get paid. I did it to try to benefit my life. I did it to try to excel my education, and pat on my back, I did it. But essentially that's kind of deep into it. But that's my reason for playing and trying to take it as far as I could.
and also another thing I gleaned was you measure yourself like, man, yeah, I didn't like go. You make it sound like you didn't go all the way, but what I heard was some discipline in there.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't start playing football till what?
I played
Till
organized football I didn't play till I was like 11, like pads. Like I played flag football when I was 8. So I played organized football when I was 8 years old.
okay.
But yeah, discipline, football in general, not rather even long snapping, but just football in general gave me a lot of discipline, especially in college. I mean, I was waking up at 5 a.m., 5:30 for like every single day for like 6 months, my freshman year, which is like when you're talking to a military guy, that's a cakewalk, but when you're talking to an 18-year-old, you know, gummy bear guy like me coming out of high school, I wasn't so tough. I wasn't so, wasn't waking up at 5:30 to go work out at 6 a.m. That kind of grew some hair on my chest. So, and it gave me discipline. It gave me structure. I had to go to class. I had to study at a certain time. I had to meet with tutors at a certain time. I had to practice at a certain time. I had a lot of structure in my life with football. So, and it taught me not only like the discipline, but what discipline gets you. It's like you have to be disciplined and consistent for days, weeks, months at a time, and then you get your results, right? You get the starting job, you get the scholarship, you get the winning in the games, you get the benefits of all that at the end. So discipline at a young age definitely, in my experience, like helped me a lot. And it probably has a lot of similarity in your end with being in the military. I mean, it's a lot more serious because it's more life or death for sure. But I mean, that's something we share, I think, is that discipline at a young age,
Yeah. And I would have to agree, our paths may have not, been very similar as far as like, you were a player in an organized sport, and I was we were both professionals. I'm a professional sailor in the Navy, and you became a professional player. But in order to become that, like you said, consistent discipline, equals results.
Right.
Consistent
It's
over and over and
and
over
over
again.
and over again. The recipe is the same. Your professionalism was obviously much more important than mine. And I'm not here to measure importance, but it's just, yes, you're right. Discipline, consistency equals results. I think that's the biggest thing with our two backgrounds, and for other people to recognize, and even to remind myself. I'm 30 years old right now. It's easy sometimes to not be as disciplined or consistent because it feels better not to do it, because you'd rather, it takes, if you base, I learned this from a buddy of mine, like if you based your actions off your emotions, you won't be very successful. If you base your actions off your discipline, you will be successful, right? Because if I did everything, if I woke up and said, oh, well, I don't feel like, you know, cold calling today, I don't feel like prospecting, I don't feel like following up with my clients, I don't feel like growing my business, then I'll never be successful, right? But if I
Yeah.
do it because I know I need to be disciplined, I know I need to make my follow-up calls, I know I need to, do my prospecting, I know I need to grow my business, I know I need to, invest my time wisely, the discipline, then you run your life off discipline. That's to be successful. So learning that at a young age was very helpful, but and it's a great tool.
So were you so in order to get recognized by the NFL, how did that work out for you? Like how did you get like did you just like get recruited by a
Yeah.
college or
Oh, for the NFL. Okay, so
uh, so by like the colleges, because obviously you didn't just walk onto an NFL team, but what about how'd you get into the college ball playing?
the college game, you now it's changed a lot since I was in high school, but what I did is I sharpened my skills, number one. So if you're looking to get recruited for a high school kid, let's say to stick to high school sports, number one, you need to sharpen your skills if they're not sharp already. And you can always get better, right? So just number one, be good at what you do. Okay. Number two, that's kind of a given, right? Number two is you need to get exposure. You need to go to some camps. You need to compete in your high school, number one, for film, but two, you need to go to like 7-on-7 camps. You need to go, like for me, I went to specialist camps. I went to long snapping camps. I got ranked, I got charted, I got filmed on a demo setting, right? Not outside of a game setting, right? So I built a resume with my game film, number one, and also my camps, or I was competing at camps with other kids across the country, and I got ranked. So after a combination of those two things, I was able to market myself via email and also through the fact that this guy who I went to for where I got ranked at camps, he had a lot of connections. A lot of coaches across the country relied on his rankings and his opinions. And so that helped me get exposure and get calls. I had three other options besides University of Florida. I had four total schools I could have went to, and Florida ended up being the best one, and not just football wise, academically as well. So that was something I was looking for. So I was fortunate. I worked hard, right? My dad helped me in the recruiting process. But really my performance at the camps, my performance in my games, and helped me get to the University of Florida and get that opportunity. So I wasn't even the first guy that Florida wanted. I was like the third guy that they've tried to recruit. The first two guys like went to other schools pretty much. The first guy for sure went to another school. He's a buddy of mine. And then I was on a list with like four other guys. It was me and four other guys that they were looking at after that guy. And then a couple of those guys went to different schools and they weren't the right fit for the scheme they were running. And I was the best fit for the scheme that they wanted to run. So anyways, that's kind of how it all ended up. And I fell into the lap of University of Florida. So in recruiting, you might not be the first option, but that's just the way it shakes out. And you might not go to your number one option either as a recruit.
See, and that's awesome that you mentioned that going out there and marketing yourself, whether it's while going to camps, or getting that extra training from other sources, because this doesn't just apply for football. This applies
Mhm.
to anything.
Absolutely.
Let's say you play the ukulele. Find a ukulele camp. Or
Right.
if
Yeah. Sharpen your
yeah,
skills, like get lessons, invest in yourself. I mean, sometimes it can be expensive, but use YouTube, use the resources you have to get better and sharpen your skills and go for it,
for parents out there that are listening, your kids that have their interests, and it's probably going to be worth it in the long run if you invest your time into influencing them into, like, let's say you have a competition horse rider that does country jumping, you know, influence them to do shows, influence them
Mhm.
to do special coaching events. And yeah, I get it. It costs money, and some of it you might be able to find for a little bit cheaper, but you gotta help your kids understand that it's about marketing yourself.
Right.
So
And as a kid, I mean, when you're young, I never had an issue with like self-confidence. I wasn't a cocky kid for the most part. I flirted with that line a little bit. I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. And if you're a kid watching this, or if you, I mean, I want to say a kid, just anybody. And if you're a little timid to like showcase yourself, I would challenge you to come out of your shell, and especially as a kid, because have the confidence that you deserve, and you are great, and that you can be great, and you will be great. A lot of kids maybe struggle with that mindset, of like, well, there's so many kids out there, and I just like, they kind of talk themselves out of it before they've even stepped up to the plate, so it's like, go out there, give it your best shot, swing for the fences, and obviously it's one thing to be realistic with yourself, but like, don't let a confidence thing stop you from reaching for what you want to do. You know what I mean? It's like life's way too short for that. The windows of time are short.
yeah, you're pretty wise for being a 30-year-old man.
It's funny. When I was like in my 20s, I was like, or late 20s, I was telling people, I was like, yeah, I'm like 25 or 27 or 28 at the time or whatever. I was like, but I've gone through a lot of life experiences that most people my age haven't. And it's true, I have. And then not just the good ones. I mean, we're talking about me going to college and going pro. I had a lot of downs too. And we can get into that. I don't have any issues with that. But it wasn't all butterflies and rainbows for me in my athletic career. I got cut multiple times. I was sent home from workouts multiple times. I had, not so pleasant experiences with coaches and other players, and I mean, it is what it is. It shook out to what it is, but don't get me wrong. Like, I had success, but don't uh, don't just look at me and go, "Oh, he's had a bunch of success. He didn't have any, down times or downfalls." I mean, no, I definitely did. And you know what? It made me who I am. It's made me wiser. It's made me a more conscientious person. It's made me who I am. Can't take it back. I wouldn't give it up.
It's you mentioned, like, hey, whenever a coach or someone's yelling at me, when you have that, what we were talking about, consistency and discipline equals results. When you're getting yelled at or you feel the pressure, you can fall back onto your skill of your craft, because you've consistently, repetitively, over and over done something, and then you fall back onto your routine, which you just built up your infrastructure to be able to get through that adversity of the coach yelling at you or putting you down, and you're like, oh man, yeah, I did mess up, but I'm going to go right back to, like,
Right.
what I've been trained to do, and falling on your training, and taking that and there's things to be gleaned from whenever hard times happen. Would you also say that's true?
You mean like things to learn from? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, what you hit on there was play the next play. Like, I tell young snappers, I coach long snappers now as well in my free time. I tell them, look, if you had a bad snap, you can't get it back. Like you can't hop in a time machine and go, oh wait, let me get that back. Or you can't like stop the game and go, oh well, let me redo that one. No, the game goes on, right? And so the only thing you can do is snap the next snap, play the next play. So I've had some bad snaps in my career, which ones I wish I had back. I mean, hopefully, I mean, if you're a long snapper, you might have, hopefully no long snapper says that, but most of them would say that, right? I think all long snappers would say it to be really blunt, but essentially, yeah, learning from the downfalls, not just in like the, oh, bad performance. It's like there's some things that are out of your control that you can't do anything about. I mean, like, let's say, for example, like adversity is not just like rolling a snap back on a field goal, but like, let's say like the special teams coach that recruited you just got fired and it's a new coaching staff. And okay, now I'm competing with a new, the new coach brought in a new long snapper he recruited, and or you know what, this new coach isn't treating me very fairly, or he's benching me. I don't know. I hear a lot of stories nowadays, and like I don't know how much is true at all. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, a new coach, or like, oh, or like, you know what, I'm a walk on at a school and it's really expensive, and my parents can't afford to pay and send me here anymore, so I gotta go transfer to a junior college, or like, I mean, I can list a bunch of things, but like, it's there's a saying that I learned in football, like, so what, now what, right? It's like, okay, this is the hand you're dealt. Like, how are you going to play it? You know, so that's how what a lot of people should focus on is during adversity is, so what, now what? Okay, I rolled the snap back. Now what? Okay, I'm going to buckle up and I'm going to go back there and focus and get better and make it better for me. You know, I'm going to make my situation better. I'm not going to harp on it and let it affect my next play. Right.
Yeah.
So you can kind of carry that off the field and you go, okay, well, like, okay, my special teams coach got fired. What's my next move? Okay, well, here's the situation. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what you can do. Right. So it's like going headstrong in that storm and handling it, and it makes you better.
So there's like a saying that we talk about in the military all the time, and we kind of teach it to our senior NCOs, our senior non-commissioned officers, so our enlisted folk, and we talk about whenever we address a problem, and I kind of want to flip it on the, addressing whenever you see somebody doing something and you're like knife hand.
Yeah.
You don't just go knife hand on them, but you got to address the problem, not the person that's in that situation. It's not necessarily a person deficiency. It's usually a problem. So whenever you remember, hey, this person that's giving me criticism is not attacking me, but is either attacking an attitude or is attacking a certain problem in the situation. If you could take that step back and learn how to take the advice and then keep moving forward, that, would you say that that would probably help people out in situations? Because I'm sure you had to do that all the time, especially in practice,
Yeah.
over and over again.
100%. To kind of summarize what you're saying is attacking the problem, right? Not the person. And I wish I would have known that earlier, but in my career. But yeah, I mean, like with long snapping, it's not you don't have like a lot of um I had like the off the field problems I had with people, or were just, there's some favoritism that goes on in the NFL. There's some bias. There's things that I hate saying it, but it's like it just happens, it's just what it is. And I had problems with the people that were kind of doing me dirty a little bit, but I just kind of bit my tongue and took the high road. But like, yeah, if to learn from all this, and especially in your football career, like you can be I don't want to say what problem solver, but like you can, it's a lot of it it comes down to relationships, with the people you're interacting with, and how to come to solutions. And like my job right now in real estate, I do that daily. I try to get two sides, sometimes three, all to come to terms, right? And it's very difficult to get everyone to come to terms and then bring it to completion, right? So negotiating skills, people skills, problem solving, solution providing, all of that stuff that you learn when you're an athlete or in the military, probably even more in the military, to be honest with you. Like, I think you have a lot more experience during your time in the military than I did with football, with all these things I'm talking about. Makes you a better professional in your next journey. I've taken these skills, from football with adversity and problem solving. I've applied it to my real estate career, but I'm learning more about, what's the word, art of negotiation and dealing and wheeling and I hate saying it like that, but and facing people and problems more than ever, so definitely get you ready for it.
And you don't have to discredit your experience in the NFL. Yeah, we have two different paths, but I just want to, set it for the record. Hey, look, we all serve in our own capacities. I just happen to be lucky enough that it was with the military, and you just happen to be lucky enough that it was with organizations such as the NFL, and then you continued on after the NFL to serve people as well. So
Right. I like that. We serve in different capacities, like absolutely, 100%.
yeah,
I agree.
man. So where are you at today? What do you do now?
Yeah, so, for those of you who don't know, I sell residential real estate in the short term, in my short little title, but I'm a realtor. I'm a local real estate agent here in San Diego. I help buyers, sellers, investors. I've helped a few renters with real estate needs, and I advise people. I say I'm more of an advisor, a real estate advisor, I am an agent, but that's kind of my role. So I just help people and answer questions and provide solutions and review contracts and find buyers properties, find sellers buyers. You know what I mean? So I try to connect people in this industry and help them come to terms. That is what I do for a living, and it's rewarding. It's exhausting, but it is. I learn something new every day. So that's what I'm doing.
So how did you choose real estate after football?
Great question. I got licensed while I was doing football. So I got cut from Seattle, and I thought I was no one thinks they're ever gonna get cut or, whatever. So my neighbor was like, he found out I got cut, and he's like, wow, man, I think, he's from the area. He's great with people. Has a lot of time on his hands because he just got cut. Why he approached me. He goes, why don't you look into getting your real estate license? And this was back in 2016, like September 2016. And so I was like, you know what, I got to do something. And if football doesn't work out, I can do real estate. So I started, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I had interned with Merrill Lynch the previous year. I thought about maybe being a financial advisor, didn't want to do that. So I started studying for my real estate license. I got licensed in the spring of 2017. I passed my test. Didn't do anything with it my almost first year and a half. I didn't use my license at all, when I first got it. And then so I essentially got into real estate while I was still pursuing. And then 2018, I did my first sale, beginning of 2018. So my aunt approached me at the end of 2017, and I started helping her. She was my first client, and I helped her buy a house, starting in the fall of 2017. And then we closed January 2018, literally like 11 days after, something like that. 11 days after we closed my first deal, I got signed to Tampa Bay. So I thought, okay, I was like, I think real estate is going to be my new thing. I just closed my first deal. I had more money in my pocket than I ever had. I was still living at my parents' house. I didn't have a real job. You know what I mean? I was scraping together pennies, working odd jobs, working at seasonal worker at the Gap. I was helping people move for money. I mean, I was doing any job I could get my hands on. Closed my first deal in real estate, thinking, okay, this is gonna be my, my start into real estate game. And then I got signed to Tampa. So uh did the Tampa thing, did the AAF thing. Then 2020 rolled around, did my second ever sale, end of 2020. And then 2021 was like my first full year in real estate. Now 2022 is like my second full year in real estate. So I've been exercising my license consistently for about 2.5, almost 2.5 years, 2.25 years. So that's kind of how the cookies crumbled for me of late.
So, with real estate, like you said that you're like, oh, I'm really good with people, and then, but you didn't just do real estate at first. You hustled, so
Yeah.
that way you didn't end up, putting yourself in massive amounts of, debt while you're thinking that you're going to line up for this football career or it's the hustle and the amount of work that is what I heard is just commendable because you didn't just sit around and say, "Oh, I collected COVID check here and there."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
out there busting your butt.
Yeah. Because I mean, thank you for that. But when I was younger, I wanted to play football because my main reason, like wanting to go in the NFL, obviously was my lifelong dream. I wanted the status, I wanted the fame, and I wanted to make a lot of money. Right. And so my motivation was very extrinsic. It was like I just wanted the flashy things, I wanted the money. And then by the time I got older, and you know, and then when I was young too, I go, oh, real estate, you can make some money doing it, right? You can make good money, and you can, and the money can be great. But I realized I was like, okay, if I'm so money, I'm not gonna let money motivate my actions. I'm not, you know what I mean? It goes back to like eh, the emotion versus the discipline mindset. Like if you have a disciplined mindset, you're focused on your consistency and helping people and like having a routine, and then the money comes after that. The fame, if you're in the football, right? The sponsorships, the benefits, the all the things that come with success fall after that. But if you're so I was like, okay, I'm going to shift my focus on like being disciplined, being consistent, and helping people. And if I can help people in real estate, the money will come, right? The money will take care of itself. If I'm consistent in my routine and I'm consistent and I'm disciplined, more money will come, right? If I work hard, if I hustle, money will come, right? So I focused, I took the results out of my process somewhat, then not to try to be too focused on my end result, more focused on my routine, and the results will come, and that's kind of what's helped me a lot. And be like, I'm not comparing myself to other people. I'm not comparing myself to someone who's been in the industry for 20 years. I'm not comparing myself to somebody who's played 200 games in the NFL. I was like, I'm a rookie, right? And so it's me versus me. So that's kind of how I've approached it. Because if you're comparing yourself, especially if you're young and you're getting into a new industry, like if you want to get into real estate, right? You maybe mentioned that to me. It's like your first year, you might do one sale for someone, not yourself, right? Like, let's say you help about one buyer. That's like that. And then the second year, you might help two buyers, or a buyer and a seller, maybe, or two buyers. And then the third year, you might do 3 to 5 transactions. And then your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I mean, then it exponentially grows after that. But those first few years when you're getting into a new industry, and like breaking into the NFL, like I didn't play in my first preseason game until my 4th year out of college. You know what I mean? I didn't make a dime, and I didn't make my first game check. Like I mean, my first game check in football wasn't an NFL game check. It was an AAF game check, and they paid me like $7,000 before taxes per game, right? Which was great. I mean, $1,000 a day, and during the season, you're like, holy shit smokes, like I'll take that, right?
Yeah.
But but I didn't get to $7,000 a day or $7,000, or sorry, $1,000 a day and $7,000 a game until I was like 4 or 5 years out of college. And then in the NFL, you're getting paid $30,000 to $70,000 a game. I didn't reach that level, but that's not the point. It's really like, look, it took me a long time to get to making a buck. You know what I mean? And so like if you're somebody looking to get into an industry, whether it's football or real estate or whatever industry you're getting into, if you're looking for an overnight business, overnight success, or overnight money, you gotta change that. Go buy a lottery ticket. It's like that's not how it works. And so that's my biggest advice for people who are looking to just build something, is that it's not an overnight process. And do something you love. Obviously, find what you're good at and dedicate your effort and discipline and consistency, and then over time success builds.
And that's, man, overnight success, right?
Nobody's an overnight success, let me tell you. There's
I've read this. There's this one book, and anybody that's listened to me I've talked about the wow, why am I blanking this book? Wow, oh my goodness, I gotta pull up now. So there's this book. It's really old, The Richest Man in Babylon. So I talk about the richest man in Babylon, and he has this one thing that he talks about. Any money that's won or gained quickly is also lost quickly.
Mm.
And it's, I would have to say that's the same with a lot of things. Look at like Google. We don't remember half of the stuff because we Google everything. We have everything at the tips of our fingers, and then we forget about it. Have you ever noticed? That whenever you quickly look up something, then 10 minutes later you can't recite it.
When you gain something quickly, you tend to lose it quickly because there's not a lot of investment into getting it. Right.
It's about the journey. It's about the journey, and your journey is your journey. Some would say that you're still in the beginning of your journey.
I would say I am too. Absolutely.
But there's something to be learned that we could all learn from the beginning of your journey. And you're an inspiration to me, man. And
thanks, brother.
I've been consistently doing the Navy thing for 20 years,
Right. And that's an inspiration to me, just that line itself. And you too, man. I mean, like, that's incredible. I mean, I don't know anything about, like I said, being in the Navy, but like, I have friends who served, and I know people, and the level of dedication and commitment that you guys have shown. I mean, it's spectacular, and that you can go take your skills you learned, like the discipline, consistency, routine thing, and like you go mere copy paste that, put it on any business you want, and you're going to turn out just fine, So I would say for you, it's like, you've already got the key. Like you've got the key. Just find what car you want to drive. It's like, it's like, I don't know. It's like, that's what I maybe I do too. I am realizing that myself. It's like, I've got the keys that I learned, I picked up when I was like 18 to 22 and in my whole 20s. I told myself when I was in my 20s, I was like, I can like drink and party and chase girls like whenever, like later. I was like, I'm in a window of time right now that like every single day matters, because I'm not going to be able to chase the NFL when I'm 35. I can only chase it when I'm 25. That's the mindset I took when I was in my 20s. And I was like, okay, it was easy for me to sacrifice things that weren't going to get me to where I wanted to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just was like, all right, I've got this window of time. Like, let's pour everything I can into it, because I don't want to look back when I'm 35 and be like, man, I should have just did this or did that, So, but I delayed a lot of like delayed gratification, but like I wasn't chasing dollars when I was in my 20s. I was chasing like experiences, and I was hoping they were going to turn into dollars. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But like I wanted the NFL to work out to get paid, right? And make money. But I was like, all right, I need to chase this experience. I need to chase, being in a locker room and winning, helping a team win, and the money will come. So like I'm telling young guys right now, young people, young guys and girls, stop being so monetary driven, especially when you're young. It's like, I get the power of money. I know what the power of money is. When you have money when you're young, you can invest it, you can grow it, I get it. I totally get it. And you know what? If you want to just chase dollars, you can go chase dollars. But the best way for those dollars to come is if you go and build an asset, you build a career, you're not worried about an overnight check, right? You're sharpening your skills, you're investing, you're being disciplined in your time, you're investing your time, energy, and effort. That's gonna, help you get to where you want to go. So as generic as that sounds, and as cliche as that sounds, like I remember when I was younger, I just was like, all right, like I need to make money, I need to get a check. How do I get paid? It's like, well, slow down. Slow down, right? Just take a step back and identify what you want to do, where you want to be, and then figure out a plan to get there, and the money will come. That's kind of like, I know we talked about finances a bit and about being financially independent. How do you start, or what do you tell yourself as you start your financial, independence path, right? That's what you tell yourself. You remove yourself from the monetary result, and you go build an asset with your discipline, with your consistency, with what you want to do, and you put your head down and you grind, and at the same time find out what you're good at, right? And then just hit the pavement every day. Because a lot of people look for that like overnight check, right? Overnight success, overnight money. There's nothing that's, you know what I mean? I mean, that's just not realistic. So, if I had a time machine, maybe you'll get to this question, but I'll answer it. What would you tell yourself as you started your financial?
You got it. You got it. The time
Yeah.
machine question. Let's do it.
Okay. So I kind of hit on it, but if I had a time machine, what would you tell yourself as you started your financial independence path? It's what I mentioned before, right? Putting in the work, like focus on being consistent and disciplined. And just save your money. Like don't make any dumb mistakes. Like don't risk and don't take unnecessary risks. Bet on yourself. Don't like, I don't know, people waste money all the time, but just be smarter with your money, save your money, have a budget, know what you're spending, like know what your month looks like, and kind of get organized and like run your finances like a business. It's like keep tabs on like what you're spending, go look at your credit card or your debit card statements over the last few months. See what you can cut out, see what you don't need, see what you're spending your money on, and I want to say be frugal, but that's one aspect. And then two, build an asset. Okay, whatever business you're in, you build an asset, right? If you're a 1099 employee, independent contractor, entrepreneurial type person, you need to invest in relationships. You need to prospect. You need to grow your business. You need to provide value to people, right? You can't expect no one's just going to give you business like that. You got to go out there and earn it, and then I would say, make yourself that sometimes the best ability is availability, right? Just be available and just, be there for people. And one thing I did learn too, I guess this goes into like making money, is like people know you can sense your intentions. If you have bad intentions, like people, especially older people, they know it's all over your face. They can sniff it out of you, have good intentions. If you're looking to like become financially independent, don't look to like, it's not what you can take from others to build your own wealth. It's what you can provide to others to then receive gains, monetary gains, experiences, and stuff like that. that you got to go out there and give, and then you can receive, as cheesy as that sounds, but like that's something that I would tell myself back in the day,
that was like a perfect, well-rounded, and when I say well-rounded, I mean that was perfect. That was great.
Yeah, I
Uh,
wish I had that recorded for my 21-year-old self. Then I would be like, all right, I'm gonna save my money. I'm not gonna spend it on dumb stuff, and I'm
but
gonna.
it's like I get dumb stuff, but like if you budget dumb stuff in and you do dumb stuff,
Yeah,
you
if you budget it
you,
in,
you
that's
plan
all
it
good.
in.
You have a plan. You have,
Yeah.
I totally,
that-
you got to track what you're doing.
yeah.
You
And
know,
and that whole entire, people can sniff your intentions. When you're trying to chase that carrot, um
yeah,
people know what you're chasing after. They can see the carrot in front of you. They could see it.
100%. Right.
100.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like I helped a buyer like buy a house in August of this year. Okay. And he became a buddy of mine. He was referred to me from a friend of mine, right? And during the escrow, there was like some repairs that needed to be negotiated. And so I only get paid if we close, right? So he we were a few grand off. Like the seller didn't want to give a certain amount, the buyer wanted a certain amount. So I remember I told this guy who I was introduced to maybe a month or two prior. I didn't know him for super long. And I said, look, dude, I said, you know what? If you want to cancel this deal, like I support you. I said, if you want to cancel and go look around at other places and you want to shop around more and we can I'm like, dude, I totally support you 100%. And I back you. I was like, you know what? But I said, typically, usually don't let a couple $1,000s like kind of kill a deal. It's usually, especially in the certain sales price that's like for the property, it's really small percentage of the entire transaction. But it's not the point. I just told him, I said, look, like typically we don't let this fall apart. But I said, here's your options. But like, I support you. If you want to walk away from this, I've got your back. I said, look, I'm pushing for you too. I'm pushing for what your needs are. I'm telling the listing agent, hey, this deal is kind of at jeopardy. You guys need to come back with something stronger, rather than just telling him, hey man, take it. It's a good deal. You know what? Like you can eat this. You can do this yourself, or you can have your dad help you. You know what I mean? I just was like, dude, I'm in your corner, bro. And if it meant sinking the ship, me going down with it and like falling out of escrow and then like, you know, not getting paid, that's what it meant. And like, I think he really was like, his response was like, you know what, man, like, I really appreciate you having my back on this. And so I was at the point financially I could afford to do that, but I wasn't like a starving agent. I didn't need to close the deal, in order to eat next month. But like, and that's why I go back to tell you kids out there, save your money. So when you get a job, like either something like mine, where you've got funds to fall back on, if you're working a job that has variable income and you don't know where your next deal is going to be or your next closing is going to be as an agent. So my point is that like align yourself with your clients and like actually, show them that like, hey man, I'll support you if you want to cancel this deal. Like we'll keep looking. And that really was like, wow, this guy, my client was like, this guy Drew's like he's a real solid guy. He's like, he's not just looking to make a buck off me. He has my best interest involved, or my best, his best interest, my client's best interest. So I'm harping on it, but like it was a really powerful message to people. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you're not just looking to like, yeah, I mean, you need to get paid, but I'm not going to do it by any means necessary. I'm not like my client appreciated that. And I told him this, I said, look, dude, if you cancel, one, you might not find another place that you like for months. The condition of the next house you're in might be worse. You might have a seller that's not going to give you anything at the next place. Your interest rate might be higher. I kind of gave him the cost of canceling. I put that in his head, which is fair because he needs to consider that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, because that's what an agent needs to do, they need to advise your client on all the possible scenarios, good and bad. So I said, but I told him, I said straight up, I was like, dude, if you want to walk away, man, I've got your back, bottom line. And so he was really like he really appreciated that, and he trusted me more, and it just showed better to him, you know. So anyways, if you've got bad intentions, people will freaking know that from around the block. They'll smell it on you, you know. So anyways, that's my big advice for financial independence.
I love it. We've already done a lot of actionable content, but is there
Mm.
any kind of other actionable content that you'd like to tell somebody that could change their life today?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest actionable content is like don't wait either. I talked about discipline, consistency, right? Everyone kind of talks about that, but like don't wait to start something. You know, it's like there's never a perfect time to do this, never a perfect time to do that. I said just the actions you need to do is like start it. Start it now. Don't wait till this or that. Like perfect examples like I'm like, okay, well, it's 2 weeks left of the year. I can just pack it in for the year and I'll start my business plan in January. It's like, no, I'm not starting my business plan for next year in January. I'm starting my business plan right now. And I'm booking the meetings I need to meet with certain marketing people. I'm meeting with certain, sales managers, for my planning for next year. I'm meeting with my business partner. We're talking about what areas we want to, enter and market ourselves to, and what our budget's going to be for next year. And all of that stuff. I'm really dialing it in, and I'm like really wanting to get even more consistent. I could have been much more consistent this year, so I'm like, I'm thinking about restructuring my schedule like completely, you know what I mean? And blocking off time during my days to do XYZ, you know what I mean? And having more structure. So don't wait. And actionable, let's see. Uh, like, let's see. I mean, I wrote some notes here, but so I don't lose them. But um, I would say, like, I mean, the little things too. Like, do the little things right. Like set an alarm, stick to it. Ha- Um, you know, like have a routine, like I said, but like wake up earlier if you need. Just find more time in the day. It's simple. You probably hear this from everywhere, but like go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day. That's a start. That's an action that you can take that will change your life. You'll get better sleep. Your diet will be more consistent. Your work schedule will be more consistent. These are for like entrepreneurial type people. If you work a 9 to 5, you're gonna have to wake up in every single day, certain time, most likely. But that's one thing. One more thing I'll say is like a lot of young people, like I mentioned, when I was young, I really wanted to just make money, right? Whether that's football or, I want to sell a $5 million house and, out of nowhere, right? It's like, just focus on like building relationships, making connections, and learning as much as you can. Those are actions that you can take right now. And even if you're old, young, I guess it doesn't really matter what age you are, but build relationships, learn from somebody, and make connections. That's a huge action that you can take that will help you, you know?
So, that yeah, I love that, man. Consistency, make sure, hey, you could always wake up a little bit earlier to do what you need to do for the day. Um, and you'll find that when you say, hey, I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to walk a couple miles because I want to achieve a certain goal, like I have, we call it SMART goals, um, it's pretty much, is it's sizable, it's measurable,
Mm-hmm.
or it's specific, measurable, um, you could actually achieve it and within the time. It's like,
Within time frame. Yeah, I've heard
yeah,
that
it's
before.
realistic. And yeah, so
Right.
I I just learned how to spell yesterday, so
Yeah.
I just messed that all up.
Yeah.
But you know, having a goal and making sure that's realistic will help you wake up early or will help you with those things. And that's great. I read a lot. So I ask everybody, do they have like a book or podcast that they recommend other people to read or
Yeah,
listen to?
the book I was going to recommend is actually, I thought I'd be home at this time. So, because I'd worked and my book was at home, and I have the title of it right there. Um, as far as that would be a book I'd recommend, but I don't have the title of it in front of me. But the podcast, there's a guy, I mean, depending on where you fall on your beliefs, are I'm not going to get into politics or religion, but there's a guy, he's a big friend, he's a really good friend of mine. I've known him for years. He played in the NFL. His name is Steve Weatherford. You may or may not have heard of him. He played as a punter. And because he was a punter and I was a long snapper, we trained at the same gym when he was still playing, and he most famously played for the New York Giants. He has a podcast, and he's on social media, and he's a guy who really reconnected with God a few years ago. And he's totally changed man. And he has some views. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's has a podcast, and he has some online, or he has some coaching groups he does. And he's a guy who could really change your life if you're looking to like kickstart your life, like, or just get some nuggets. He's a guy. You know, I'm not like an influencer, and you know what I mean? But people can look, I can influence people, but I'm not like a mass scale influencer. But anyways, he's a guy. I look into his podcasts, look into his words and his coaching and whatnot. I wish I had that book in front of me with the title, but
Do you know who the author is?
God, I can't think the name. The book is literally right next to me. It's more of like the book is about learning from your experiences, and like um being open-minded, and it motivates you to uh like believe in yourself. And it talks about like, you know, um talks about it covers a lot of things like that, but it gives a lot of examples of like why you should go for a certain job regardless of your experience, and like, you know, shoot for the stars, kind of thing. It's a little, I don't want to say it's corny, but it's a good book. I'll actually if I remember, I'll shoot you a picture of
Yeah,
the cover.
shoot
um
it shoot it to me, and I'll post it on the comments on here.
yeah, my
So
girlfriend gave me that book. um
it's, don't feel bad, because sometimes whenever I'm reading books, like the names I just forget the name because I'm reading everything else, and I don't look
yeah.
at the cover all the time.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't say the name over and over again. So yeah, don't feel bad about that. Yeah, there's so many books out there. I just recently read. Have you read or heard of Endure by Cameron Haynes?
Endure. I feel like I recognize that name, Cameron Haynes. I
Yeah, he's a bow hunter. He's
Okay.
he's he's a really badass bow hunter. And David Goggins did, and Joe Rogan did his forward and his epilogue in the book.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah, Weatherford's a big David Goggins guy. I think he's met David. I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. Like, and shoot, one day I hope to have David Goggins on here, schooling me, but he's gonna be like, "Hey, let's go for a run, man." And I'm gonna be like,
right. I'll see you at 100 miles later. Exactly. It's so
yeah,
funny. But,
yeah, man,
yeah.
yeah. I've been so I've been kind of walking a lot more. I can't run because of my vertigo that I get.
Mm.
It really, I get fucked up whenever I cursed. I'm sorry. Um, I get
I
really
haven't had to
messed
bite my
up.
tongue.
It's
Yeah.
not going to get edited out either.
Well, in that
um,
case, that'll be it.
yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Um, it messes me up whenever I run. So I'll do like a fast walk, jog. But I am doing this 100-mile challenge right now, for soldier suicide awareness, to stop it, put it into it. So it's a Navy Army uh thing that I'm doing right now. So if you guys are interested in funding it, check out my Facebook page. It is on there. I'm at
Cool.
my goal, but but we'll see if we can get more funds raised for that. Anyways, hey, Drew, thanks for coming on, man. This is an amazing experience, and it doesn't matter where you're at in your path.
Hmm.
Um, we all can learn from each other.
Absolutely. I learn something new every day. No, I appreciate being on. Um, I've I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and I'm gonna have more. It's like it's adversity. Everybody has it. Everybody gets it. It's one person's adversity isn't valued more than another. It's just different. But we can all learn from each other, and we can all get better every day. As corny as that sounds, I keep saying that, but yeah, man, it's like the first 30 years, some people look at their lives at like 30-year chapters, like 30, 30, 30, right? And it's like, if you think about it, I'm 30 years old right now. I have like the third of my life or more. I don't know. Could be done, and it's like, all right. And I remember just looking back at the last 10 years. So some people look at it 30, 30, 30. I look at it like by tens. And like, all right, my 20s they weren't exactly what I wanted. I didn't, I mean, I'm going to own it. I didn't reach exactly where I wanted to go. It's so I said, okay, how do I make my next 10 years more better than my last 10 years? I mean, better, but what do I want in this next decade? I want to start a family. I want to have a kid. I want to have maybe 2 kids in the next 10 years. I want to build my business. Of course, I want to make more money. I want to help more people, right? I want to do a lot of things, right? I want to travel more. I didn't really travel in my 20s because I wanted to play football, right? There's a lot of things I'm making up for in my 30s that I didn't do in my 20s. So I encourage somebody where they're at right now, no matter where they're at, whether it's their 40s or whatever, their 30s or something like that, just be like, all right, what do I want my next 5 to 10 years to look like? That's how I do it. And so that way it kind of reminds me, I'm not in an overnight thing. If I don't read, you know what I mean? I'm not, it kind of conditions my mind to think I'm in a long play, you know? So anyways, no, I appreciate being on here. I think you got a great podcast. You asked some great questions. We dove deep into some real topics, man, that like people, I think, I don't know if they struggle with it, but they go through it daily,
Yeah.
and it's so what now what, man, it's like, all right, my 20s are over. So what now? Well, now
Yeah.
what? Right. I'm almost 31, dude. I'm turning 31 beginning of next year.
Man,
So
you're
the
getting
first year
old,
of my
man.
what's that?
You're getting old.
I'm getting old, dude. I know my hair's thinning over here. I mean, it's there, but it's receding back. You got good hair, man. You got way better hair than I do.
Hey, I didn't start growing my hair out till a couple of years ago. I used to be just one all the way down, bald. I used
Oh
to.
yeah, so this must be new territory for you.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm gonna start growing out my hair. Yeah, and I was like, ooh, I could still grow out my hair. My
That's so
dad,
gross.
my dad's probably like, that son of a gun. He's not bald yet.
Yeah, right. Like, screw that guy. He needs to thank me for my genetics, but yeah, man, it's good. But no, man, I appreciate being on again. I like talking
Yeah,
about this stuff. It's fun for me. Kind of relive the past, learn from it, and how we're gonna, move forward. And that's all we can do.
yeah,
And I think we both have a lot of value to give to people. Like in your next, and I wish you the best of luck in your next journey. You're out of the military now. We've been talking about me a lot. We don't need to dive so much into you. I know you may have already done that, but I wish you the most success on your next journey that you want to take on. And if it's real estate in Washington, or if it's real estate here in San Diego, either one, you let me know, man. I'm happy to be a resource for you in any way I can advise you and help you decide which path of real estate you want to go into. You might only want to go. We didn't really talk about the horse ranch thing. It's totally fine. I totally forgot
oh
about
yeah,
it.
that's right. Yeah,
But you might want to get into like helping buyers and sellers of your like properties that you own, like properties you own. So
yeah,
you might just target, hey, I'm going to help investors, or I'm going to help first time investors, or I'm going to you can focus. You don't have to say real estate's like a big spectrum, right? Like there's people that solely focused on first time home buying, right? There's people that are strictly listing agents who can afford to do that, right? There's people who are more focused on buyers, right? There's people that are in all multifamily, right? There's people that farm certain areas that get known in a certain area, and you're the guy or girl, or you're the gal or person that's owns that area, right?
Yeah.
So there's different things you can focus on. Like as a young agent, if you do get into real estate, you might try a little bit of everything. I'm selling a horse ranch. I never thought I'd sell a horse ranch in my life, and I've learned more about horse ranches in the last 6 months than I ever have in my entire life. So I know it's not what I want to do after this. I'm not going to sell another horse ranch, probably. Way too many moving parts, way too many. It's just so over. It's not my expertise, right? Next time I'll
Yeah, no.
probably refer that. You know,
Yeah, those properties aren't valued right on Zillow or
Probably not.
Redfin either.
No, no. Zillow is never accurate. Redfin's really not so accurate either.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's just, and even where property's in distress, like, it's my horse ranch has the property's not in great condition, right? It has
Yeah.
tenants that are still there and not leaving. It's like so many, it's like, oh, it's just, it's a lot. And so if you get into sales, you're going to deal with people's problems and emotions and divorces, and you're going to be their therapist, their real estate agent, their housekeeper. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to wear a lot of hats, and you're going to do things that aren't necessarily in your job description. You might not think they are. So that's my best advice as well, is like, if you get into real estate, be ready for anything. And you can just pick and choose. You have the luxury to pick and choose what facet you want to get into. But I think you'd be great at it, man. I think, having your background and you being a property owner, dude, you're like, you can hop right into it, dude. Like I would encourage it, to be honest. Um, and just use your story to portray to others, you know, and and build whatever you want. I mean, if real estate is not your thing, it's totally fine. But
Yeah.
that would be my best advice in your real estate game. You might want to not get into the sales aspect. You might just, you know, I'm in the more of the sales, right? I'm on the face of things. But you could get into title, you can get into escrow officer, you could get into lending, you could help VA buyers, you could help military buyers, right? I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of different facets of the real estate game you can entertain. So don't limit yourself, brother. I think the sky's the limit.
Thanks, man. So I'm gonna conclude this recording for all you Chart Your Fi listeners, and just remember, not everything is unicorns and rainbows.
Candy canes and lollipops, unicorns and rainbows, it's not, but
Yeah.
don't let that scare you, right?
Right. All right. You guys have a good one. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to Chart Your Fi. Again, remember the purpose of Chart Your Fi is to help people realize that financial independence is not the end goal, but a means to accomplish their goal and find their purpose. So, if you felt like you found your purpose or found a way to get to your goals a little bit faster, I'd love to hear about them. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, hit me up on my website, chartyourfi.com, or even hit me up on the notes on here. I will leave a poll, and I look forward to seeing you guys out there. You guys take care. ChartYourFi is not an affiliate of the United States Navy, and the views expressed are those of the individual and are not those of the United States Navy and or the Department of Defense. All material on ChartYourFi has been presented information as educational purposes only. The views expressed and all content of the ChartYourFi are generalized and may not be appropriate for all investors.